Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Liam's Lively Jukebox. It's hard to believe we're now over halfway through the first season of these videos, and there's a lot of things that have been going on, and I'm going to fill you in. So, in today's video, what we're going to be talking about is what is called calling T1, T2, T3. Now, before you wonder, it's not me going bing bong calling that. No. T1 and T2 and T3 are short for Trinity, Trinity 1, Trinity 2, and Trinity 3 in the framework for the Graded Examinations in Spoken English, or GESE. Now, before I go any further, remember now that Liam's Lively Jukebox, remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, and also to follow on Instagram. And follow on Instagram as well, where I'll be giving some updates, some fun things, some fun facts for you to see. All right. So, and remember, pass that on. Okay. So remember to pass it on to other people as well. So like, subscribe, comment, and more. Okay, so initial Trinity. So for students who are doing the initial level exams for GESE, which is Great Examination in Spoken English, in Trinity 1, 2, and 3, mostly students who are young learners will be doing these exams. Okay, they're quite short. There's only one phase, which is continuous conversation for between 5 to 7 minutes. Now, for each grade, it increases by 60 seconds. So, grade 1, 5 minutes, grade 2, 6 minutes, grade 3, 7 minutes. Now, adults can do these exams too. Some of them do need to do these exams as it is necessary. So, for these exams in the framework of European languages, it is beginner to the low end of A2, which is low pre-intermediate. Okay, so there's a lot of different language that has to come out in these exams as well. Now, when you are taking your learners through this exam, it is really important that you remember that visuals are key. So visuals are key in this exam because sometimes visuals help learners engage better and also to give you the result that you desire. Also, keep things simple. Imperatives are simple, and keep your meta language as a teacher simple when preparing students. Now, in this video, I'm going to split it into 3 parts. So, in the first part, I'm going to talk about Trinity 1 and some little games and techniques that actually might be useful to you. Then I'll be moving then to Trinity 2, which is about adding more to it, because between Trinity 1 and Trinity 2, you need to do more, which involves, for example, full sentences and understanding environments and different things like that. And also the killer topic, which I call, in my opinion, as a teacher and as an examiner, descriptions and prepositions, okay, as well. And also in Trinity 3, I'm going to highlight the difficult areas that some students I have found, in my experience, have found directions and sometimes the use of past as well, along with a few other things as well. Now, starting first of all, I'm going to talk about with Trinity 1. Now, initially, when you hit the initial stage and when students are starting to prepare for these exams, it is essential that they understand the examination that they're doing. What I recommend to most teachers at the beginning is to show students a short clip or a video of a Trinity exam. Now, many other boards do different things. So many other boards do different things. They have the examination in pairs, so there may be 2 examiners with 1 student. In Trinity, it is 1-to-1. It's the examiner and the student, and they'll be talking. Okay, so essentially they'll be talking. Now, depending on the level, there is more tasks, but in these 3 levels, it's only 1 part. It's relatively short, and it's a continuous conversation. Now, some parents think, oh, do they need to know this, and this? Do they need to have X, Y, and Z? First of all, especially at Trinity 1, they're going into the exam for the first time as a beginner. Complete novice, they don't know what to expect, but it's important as teachers we do show that we have what is expected. In Trinity 1, what I expect students to know the basics, which is like colours, numbers, body parts, weather, basic topics that we've been learning at very young learner stages, okay? And also to be able to say hello, how are you, goodbye, greetings, which is is a requirement in Trinity 1. What students need to learn at Trinity 1 need to be able to exchange greetings, they need to be able to give like personal information and identify different items depending on depending on what the examiner is looking for. And to leave taking, which means to sort of like saying, right, okay, go from one phase to another, and to leave and to take turns. So it's a lot of leave taking and turn taking as well in this exam. Imperatives are very important in this level, simply because what I would expect students to be at this level is to be able to identify and give simple answers, whether like 1 or 2 word answers. If they can provide a short phrase, fantastic. But 1 or 2 word answers is acceptable at Trinity 1. Okay, so they need to be able to understand question words like who, what, where, when, and why. Like, what is your mother's name? What is your father's name? Do you have, that's question words like how many brothers or sisters do you have? Where do you live? And also to be able to point to different objects, to understand objects, touch, stand up, sit down, little things like that. It's actually quite a fun one to prepare for. And also, when you are preparing your learners, aside from that, you need to keep your activities straight and simple. Simple games. I suppose it's like a parody of the weakest link. Like I go, A, how are you today? B, how old are you? C, what's your mother's name? Gets them familiar with questions. They know what answers to give. Okay? Also, basic descriptions like, what am I wearing? A t-shirt or a green t-shirt. And if they don't say the colour instantly, that's okay. You can ask another question, say, what colour is my t-shirt? What are you wearing? They need to understand different things like that. So little things like that are very good. One game that I actually found very fun to do with my students is to be able to, like for example, with numbers, I do it's either called the clap game or the humming game. So it's like, or the clap/hum game. Now I would go 1, 2, 3. What's the number? What's next? So it's trying to make sure they understand the sequence. Now in grade 1, they have to understand numbers 1 to 20. So 1, 2, 3, hands up, 4. The other one, when I do the clap game, I go, get them to listen twice. So listen again, it goes like this. What was the number of claps? 7. They guess incorrectly. I usually do this. Try again. And it keeps going. Also simple pronouns like I, you, he, she, it, they. Simple pronouns like, what is this? Is this a pencil? Is this your pencil? No, it's your pencil. And like basic expressions, although that's more expected to grade 2, which I'll be talking in a moment. And also teaching, there are lots of resources for Trinity which are very, very good. And there's like little diagrams and different things like that. Also like clothes. For example, I did another good game with clothes. Like, what's this? What is this? Is it A, trousers, or B, a t-shirt? No, t-shirt. To get them familiar with also visually what the object is, and also being able to elicit the vocabulary and correct pronunciation when necessary. With grade 1, simplicity is the key. You cannot be overcomplicated, or you can't be overcomplicated or overdo these questions. When you are preparing these learners, have a bank of questions, have a bank of visuals, keep it very simple. It is only 5 minutes, and try and get as much as you can out of them in those 5 minutes. And then hopefully, all being well, they will achieve great success. So that's my few tips really in this video for grade 1. Now, when we move on to grade two, what I expect students in grade two is to be able to obviously use some one or two word answers, but I expect a small sentence. So grade one, grade two can be a little bit tricky because you need to make sure that they're saying, hello, what's your name? My name is, instead of, so what's your name? Liam. But I would expect them to say, my name is Liam. You need to make sure that they are bringing through the full sentence. Now, there are lots of different things you do in this level that there's a lot more to identify. Numbers and color, numbers will be on this, except this time, whereas in grade one it's 1 to 20, it's 1 to 50 in grade two. Now you need to be able to do dates. Be able to do dates with them is a good one, because sometimes, even now I'm currently doing that with grade ones and grade twos at the minute, that's good practice in preparation. Like, for example, what's the date today? What day is it today? It's Tuesday. Some students actually have gone, it's Tuesday the 24th or 25th of May 2021. And I go, is it Friday? No. But always try and go, do this. This signal is always a good one. Say, or. No, it isn't. Okay. So that's sometimes a way to sort of, I should say, bolster or to add more to the information there. Now, in this one, what is one area of difficulty that I have found through my own experience is for students to understand environments, or at least describe their environment, especially in the home. Now, identifying rooms is okay, but actually questions like, who lives with you? My mum, my dad lives with me. I actually had a student not so long ago who was having a lot of difficulty with this. So what I ended up doing was actually showing his mother, who is a non-English speaker. I know enough Spanish to actually translate this. I was able to translate some of it. I had to translate, like you Google Translate, but I had to translate some of it. Some other things I did know to translate, but I needed to make sure the translations were correct. So I showed the typical questions, the response I was getting, the expected response. It is very important, pardon for me for scratching, it's very important that they do know that, and as well as the students as well as the parents know, that there is a little bit more expectation this time. A little bit more fluency needs to be given as well. Now, household objects. Now, that's a very fun one to do. You can do like, what is in this room? There's a mirror. There's a cupboard. There's a chair. There's a bed. That practices there is and there are. A lot of students get this confused. The simple way to teach students this, and this is something that I have swore by in my almost in the 8 years that I've been teaching, is for singular, there are is for plural. Okay, so there is singular, there are is plural. When you go forward with that, you need to try and make sure that they use that language and put it in with the vocabulary that they're learning. So that means they're combining the two together, and therefore you've got short phrase and sentence. But understanding the environment, like some examiners would ask, including myself, tell me what is in your bedroom. There are photos, there is a bed, there are some toys. That's my expected response. If students are struggling, try and give them a hint. Like say, are there? There are. Is there? And so on. Some students also have difficulty as to who lives with them, because that also goes into the next part when you're talking about family and numbers as well. Like, who lives with you? My mom, dad. I say my mom, my dad, my grandparents, live with me. So there's a lot of different approaches to this, which can be a little bit tricky. It can be overwhelming in some cases, but in other cases, a little bit more difficult as well. Now, this leads to my second point, which is descriptions. Now, in grade one, you're able to identify parts of the body. I go, show me your eyes, show me your nose, mouth, ears. The list is endless. But when we go further with that, This is where it gets a little bit cautious, okay? Descriptions. Who is your best friend? My best friend is blah, blah, blah. And tell me about your best friend. You know, is he tall? Is he short? Does he have brown hair? Eyes? What are they like? Are they happy? Are they sad? You know, that sort of thing. They need to be able to give some basic descriptions. So, saying like happy, sad, dark hair, you know, if it's broken, it doesn't give the smoothness that you're expecting for a description. Basic adjectives are important at this level. So, like given descriptions when you're going through maybe vocabulary for the body, vocabulary about emotions, that is a good time to start using basic adjectives. How are you today? I'm happy. And you? Now it's also essential at grade 2 that they ask a question. They say that at the beginning, check. That means they've done it. It's always important that they do ask a question. So descriptions need to be basic, simple, but also understandable. So just remember to practice when you're in the classroom, practice these basic descriptions as well. Basic descriptions are very key, much key. Which leads to an area which most students dread. And that is prepositions. Now, prepositions are, for most students of all levels, a nightmare. Me, I quite enjoy them, but they are complicated. The basic three are in, at, on. Now, at grade 2, they need to know other things like preposition of place, over, under, behind, in front of. They need to know those kinds of prepositions. Now, what I have been practicing recently with some of my students who are doing grade 2, I go say, what is this? This is a pencil. Very good. And then I would say, is this my pencil? Or sometimes is this your pencil? Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Now, I usually use a book or a piece of paper or a paper. If you have it on a table, use paper. Put the pencil on the paper. Put it in front, put it behind, put it under. It's a very easy way to do. But just also, again, when you are teaching in class, for students, even if students aren't doing Trinity, it's a very good way to make them understand they need to have a visual concept of where things go. Give them an object, like for example, I would say pencil case. Put the pencil in the pencil case. Put the pencil in front of, behind, under. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this. I know many teachers, I've met many teachers who do use different approaches, but it's important that you work with these approaches accordingly as well. And also, as well, as I say, make sure in grade 2 in general that they have the fuller range of sentences, basic sentences, and also present continuous as well. What are they doing? They're swimming, they're listening to music, and so on. This leads to the final part of this video. So I'm going to now move on from grade 2 to now Trinity 3, grade 3. Now in grade 3, there is more fun again, but 1 or 2 word answers will not cut it this time. Students are expected to give fuller sentences. Now in this level, they're expected to talk about daily routines, times, dates, jobs, and so on. There's a lot of things there: weather, home life, and etc. etc. Now, the 2 things that I have found in experience, and before I go any further, so there's 2 things that they do find difficult. Same as the Trinity 2, they need to ask the examiner a question. If they don't ask, prompt them to ask you a question at the end. Now, the 2 main areas that I have experienced difficulty with when preparing students for Trinity 3 are directions and expressions in past. Now, with directions, most students that I've worked with know the basics, like left, right, up, down. Things like they need to learn like go straight on, turn left, and then turn right as you're at the bank. So I would say to a student, can you help me? Can you tell me how to go from the bank to go from the bank to the post office? And if you go like left and right, and it's disjointed. So you take left, you go on to X Street, turn right, you go on to Y Street, and left again, and you're at the destination. A very good activity that I would recommend people is, and I had to get creative with this one, was to design. I designed my own map. I got a large piece of card, made a map, made some street signs, and made some flashcards with different areas, with different places, common places that you would see in a city or in a town, like a cafe, school, library, and so on. And usually I got students come one by one to direct me. I says, can you tell me how I can go from X to Y? And I would say that was good, but be careful to say go straight on. Don't forget. And then sometimes I would have my back to them and I say, what's this? And others just like, left, right, straight on. Signal practice is very good, so it keeps them familiar. And the more you practice with students with this, that will give them their confidence to sort of understand Trinity, to understand Trinity 3 and what the examiner will be looking for. Now, I cannot guarantee that directions will come up on the examination, but sometimes it can go, one learner gets it, the other learner doesn't, but they do need to be prepared for it. Now, one of the last things I'm going to talk about in regards to Trinity 3 is expressions in past. Now, most students who do Trinity 3 are maybe ranging between 9 to 11 years old. So they're 9, 10 years old doing Trinity 3, use of past. Now, typically, when you're starting into past phrases, it's like, oh, this could be tricky. This could be very, very tricky because they're trying to get the grips of present simple, present continuous, which is habit, a moment in time. So a moment, what's happening at that moment, what's happening on a regular basis. Now, when you're talking about the past, it's like going from today to yesterday. It is important that they understand the basic of the verb be in past. So, like for example, I am becomes I was. You are, and so on. Was and were. Like for example, what was the weather like yesterday? Now, when I do initial practice on these kinds of questions, I nearly emphasize what was the weather like yesterday. It was. There's typical questions that you can ask with past. What you can say, what were you doing yesterday? That's a typical question. I was at school, I was studying, I was so on. So there's a lot of ways you can approach uses of past. And they're the two most sort of difficult areas that I would be focusing on Trinity 3. But a lot of the other areas are easier. And for all three levels, there's plenty of resources on the Trinity website. And for experienced teachers, do share your resources, do share your ideas on how to do it, and also use visuals to help. Now, to conclude this video, I want to stress this again. It is important to remember that these students are young. You want to boost their confidence. You want to make sure that they're like, yes, I can do this. I've got this. And always say, like, if they're not doing so good, say, okay, you were okay, but you need to work on this, this, and this. That's the way I would approach it with students. And I was like saying, when they are improving, it is a great feeling. And I'm like, fantastic. Hit the nail on the head, as I would use back. That's an expression I would use. Hit the nail on the head. You've done it. Fantastic. Keep it up. So, and also showing the videos gives them an idea that the examiners are nice. They want them to pass, and the examiner, or as they call it, the visiting teacher, will be asking them questions to elicit the correct vocabulary, the correct language throughout. So that is also very, very important as well. And also with areas of difficulty, there are plenty of resources in many, many websites, and there are some of which I'm going to put on the description box below. All right. So, or different websites, and just go into the search engines and they'll be able to give you some ideas and activities. Okay. And other than that, I'm going to leave it there for today. So stay tuned for more episodes. There's more episodes to come. I hope you enjoy this video. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube and to follow on Instagram. And stay tuned for episode 7 because we're going to be going to the kitchen. All right, for some cookery for episode 7. So hope you enjoyed this video. This is Liam, over and out. See you soon. Bye.